Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Crusty Canuck podcast, episode 145. This episode, democracy. Is it time to fight or kneel? You decide. All that and more blunders from our national broadcaster asking for more money. And just a reminder, listener and viewer discretion is advised. Stay tuned.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Yours truly, Crusty Canuck, here on this beautiful 29th of July, 2021. Yeah, it's raining in this beautiful area we call part of Alberta. We needed it. Things got drying up and all that. But as the title said, democracy. Is it time to fight or time to kneel? Now, I'm not going to sit and keep bringing out facts and figures and everything in this episode. I'm just going to ramble on like I usually do because that's part of my brand and my style. Anyhow, like I said, listener and viewer discretion advised. I tend to drop some swear words. And if you like and hear what you see, by all means, please click like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and share this around all over your media platforms. To my YouTube subscribers, listeners, please click the notification bell if you can. Apparently, I've been having some shadow banning issues. I don't know. Of course, the powers that be will never tell you straight up what's going on, but still, just click that bell and click like, subscribe, and share it all around. Anyway, carry on. Like the title says, it's time to fight or time to kneel. Because this past week has been really, really interesting in Canadian politics. You know, all these politicians saying there's not a campaign going on, and yet there is a campaign going on because they're touring all over the country. Okay, we're finding more and more politicians weighing the odds when it comes to fear, when it comes to media responsibility. And just today, or the other day, I think it was yesterday, True North put up a segment where Jason Kenney was basically telling the media to stop encouraging fear. So I'm like, right on, Mr. Kenney, for doing that. Well done on you, sir, for actually making that a point in your platform. You know, hats off. Big applause there for that. But needless to say, when I look at every province in this country when it comes to the lockdown issue, I think a lot of them flew the coop and manned the gun a little too hard, especially when it came to giving fines and handing out tickets and closing businesses down. Now, let's take a look at this past year and a half when it came to this pandemic. Now, no one here that I know personally, no one in my circle, it doesn't matter if it's the podcast world or outside or offline, okay, none of my friends, none of my family members, none of my acquaintances has ever denied the fact that there was no pandemic, okay? Nobody that I know has ever denied the fact there was no respiratory infection. It's just all in your head. Okay. But I have talked to a few people that have had it. And they more or less said they were laid up for a few days. They were sick. They felt dizzy. They felt tired, coughing up mucus, you know, some weird shit. Some were a little scared they might have to go on a ventilator, right? But they all said, too, within about 3 or 4 days, the worst of it was over. Coughing up some phlegm, getting this, getting that. Okay. And two of those individuals, I can tell you right now, were vaccinated too. They had their first dose and they got it. Interesting, right? Interesting. Now, I've had debates with people online and offline in regards to getting the shots. I'm personally not going to take any shots because I don't believe that if the government has to bribe you to do something, you should do it. Okay. I'll understand, let's say, if this infection and this virus is, let's say, a strain of Ebola or typhoid or diphtheria or something nasty like that, or a hepatitis strain of some sort. Yes, okay, I'll go get a shot to protect yourself. Okay, and we've all done that inoculation routine when we were kids. Get your tetanus, get this so you don't get lockjaw, get jaundice, whatever the inoculation scheme is. We've all had that when we were born. Okay, but the way I'm seeing people are treating the vaccinated versus the non-vaccinated. Come on now, folks, really. Come on, grow up, okay? If you know somebody that volunteers their time to go and get those 2 shots, so be it. That's fine. If you know somebody who doesn't want their shots, that's fine too, okay? But let's take a look at this past year and a half, okay? Last year, How many flu cases were there? Oh, I guess there wasn't too many because COVID took over, right? Is that what you think? All these diseases are smart enough, all these viruses are smart enough to pinpoint and select who gets sick, who doesn't get sick, right? That's the narrative in some cases, right? Now, even this morning, I was watching the news with my wife, okay, just after I got off my shift, and there was a doctor pleading with Jason Kenney in regards to, we have to have more restrictions. We have to have more lockdowns. Now, this is a medical professional that works in the ER. Now, I'm not questioning his credibility as an ER doctor, emergency room doctor. Fine. You got to be switched on, quick, efficient, keep people alive, do what you can, because that's your hypocritical oath, if I'm not mistaken. Do no harm. So, yes, I can see where the stress and the fear can really make your day, make your shift, make it a good one, make it a bad one. I can understand that. But if you're a medical professional and you have to go on national television to plead with the provincial or state or municipal or even the federal government, for that matter, to tell people you must incorporate more lockdowns without really paying attention to what's happened to people here in Canada, now Canada-wide, not just Alberta or Ontario, Canada-wide, okay, without looking at the fact of what this thing did to the economy, the small businesses, what it did to fucking people's liberty and personal freedoms, as far as I'm concerned, I think you should just give up your medical license if you're going to do that. If you're going to get political with people's lives and tell the government they have to incorporate more lockdowns and sit there and act like, oh my God, because I really, really care for people. You're not caring for people. Okay? How many suicides have happened Canada-wide because of this issue? Because people have lost their businesses, because people have lost their jobs, because people have lost their fucking minds. And yet you still have the audacity, sir, to go on national television and to promote more lockdowns. I guess crack doesn't really smoke itself now, does it?
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Anyway, carrying on, sort of that little blurb there. I had a little pause here in the video relay. But needless to say, now I'm not going to mention this doctor's name. I'm going to leave links in the profile and description for you guys to follow and carry on there, to judge in your own accord. Every time I do an episode here, I put facts and figures on my description so you, my listeners and viewers, can click the links, look it up yourself, okay? But that's what gets me, because now we get the Olympics going on. People are trying to pay attention to that. We got more medical professionals telling us we should be gearing up for a third dose or really enforcing the 2 mandatory doses. And then we're talking about more of these variants. So which is it? Okay. Now, Mr. Kenney, as I said earlier, our premier, more or less told the media, stop encouraging fear. Okay. And that's the thing. And I watched a lovely episode today of Speaking Moistly with Canada Polly there and my good friend Jilly Davis. And they were discussing how a lot of journalism has lost its integrity. And I'd have to agree. And I think you, my listeners and viewers, would have to agree too in regards to that. A lot of journalism has lost integrity, especially to my friends in the States with big conglomerates like CNN, CBS, MSNBC, or MSNBC, whatever, and whatever, whatever abbreviation. I'm half tired here, but I think you get my point. And even up here now too, the CBC. And it's also news too that our beloved CBC is losing revenue. Oh my God, they're going broke. Oh shit, what do we do? Canada's national news broadcaster, Canada's national station, national broadcasting provider, okay, roughly gets 1.2, I think, or $1.6 billion a year from taxpayer dollars, because it is a modified free enterprise system, brought to you by the Canadian government and the taxpayer, right? And they're going broke, apparently. And I'll leave links in the description for you to follow too. And it's just what gets me. The past 4 years, they've changed everything around. New national broadcast, new stories, new journals, new covering of this, new covering of that. But they have constantly adopted the woke model when it comes to covering stories. Okay. And a lot of these CBC officials have been cuddle buddies up with the Liberal government because Liberal government gave them $600 million there about 5 years ago to help these smaller media companies and the newsprint companies get their stuff out there, right? So all these big wig media moguls, and of course, Unifor, the big journalistic union, gets that cut of the pie as well. The CBC's going broke, right? They've lost revenue. They've lost ad revenue. They've lost interest in shows. A lot of people aren't watching anymore, probably because their news coverage is garbage. It's biased. It's been proven biased time and time again. Their programming is subpar. Okay. I remember when the CBC used to be actually a good, a decent station to watch. I remember Sunday nights was a family routine when we were kids. My sisters and I would sit and watch The Wonderful World of Disney. Then we watched The Beachcombers. And then I think Danger Bay. And then I think Wayne and Schuster. And then there's another show, if you guys can remember, called Seeing Things. It's about a guy who had like a deja vu thing. He was like a reporter for a fictional paper called the Toronto Gazette. And he had this kind of sixth sense where he'd see things, like a deja vu thing. And he'd solve crimes and murders to be or past murders, that kind of thing. So it was really interesting. It was kind of funny to watch too. So that was like our family night of programming, right? And of course, you had the National Hockey Night in Canada and other sports features and the other talk shows, the odd this, the odd that, right? So programming that time actually was decent, okay? And this comes from a time before we all had cable too. There was like maybe 5 or 6 different channels that we got in our television via the aerial. And in some good days, we get the UHF channels out of Toronto, City TV. Sometimes we get Much Music on the feed too, right? So we'd pick up the modern world as best as we could. But programming was something. And it wasn't just an abundance of American shows and a bit of American news. It was a lot of Canadian news and Canadian sports. And so quite a bit of Canadian content when we were kids. Now, when I look at the CBC, what's their biggest show right now? I think it was Heartland. That's about it. Okay. And then whatever else they can muster up, how many more times we got to see Anna Green Gables? How many more goddamn times do we got to see a different perspective on one politician? How many more reporters and so-called experts have to weigh in about the beer bug and the Olympics? Okay. And I'll say hats off to our athletes, especially our female athletes, for kicking ass, taking names over there. But I think there's a little more going on than worrying about the gender identity and the politic of the game. Okay. And that's one thing the CBC has latched on to big time. Oh my goodness, it's a victory for women. Well, yeah, I guess it is a victory because a lot of the medal winners are women. Okay, great. Perfect. You earned a spot in the team and you're kicking ass. Well done. Okay. Get your medal and carry the hell on. Really? How else do you have to explain it?
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, back to episode 145 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. And yes, democracy, fight or kneel. So I'm getting to the point where it comes to we might have to do a fight of some sort too, because we have journalists that constantly are nailing other journalists and other people for not getting the jab. There's other people who sit on one side of the fence, pointing fingers at others who do not get the jab. Right? Someone like this guy right here, I took this picture here recently. Let's see what the problem's working here. But yeah, Mr. Donald Sutherland from the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978. I didn't download the sound file just yet, but I think you get my point. And that's what we're getting into, ladies and gentlemen. The whole, raised eyebrows and the finger pointing and the finger wagging about whose virtue. Oh, I got my jabs. I'm good to go. And yet there's still some jurisdictions in this country that don't care if you get the jabs or not. They still make you wear a mask. They'll still make you walk the imaginary line for the sake of their virtue and safety and making sure everyone's comfortable. Oh, I love comfort. And people forget that comfort is not a right. It is a necessity you have to create for yourself. Okay, so that's up to the individual. That's not up to the state to provide for your municipality or the province. You've got to do that yourself. But then with all these bureaucrats, especially that doctor I mentioned earlier, that wants to come down and everybody, more lockdowns. We have to have lockdowns because all these hospitals apparently overrun. Okay, but we're not hearing that. Because if all these hospitals overrun, why aren't we seeing that? Why aren't we reading about that? Okay, we're hearing speculations, but we're not actually seeing the concrete proof in that. So we're not looking after our democracy as we should. We're not looking after this. So it's time that we start to question the status quo. Okay. Which brings me to a point about kneeling. Okay. Now, I personally know individuals that do not want anything to do with politics. They don't want to have a goddamn thing to do with any party. It doesn't matter if it's this guy or that gal or this gender or that gender. They'll go out and they'll vote on their own terms when elections are called, what have you, but they don't display it. They don't talk about it. They just want to carry on with their own business. And that's a part of our society we have to respect too, ladies and gentlemen. People that just want to be left alone. People that just want to be left to their own vices. They want to go to work, collect their pay, look after their family, their friends, their loved ones. They want to just be left the hell alone. And now, because of this bureaucracy, because of the status quo, because of the fear that the media, that's right, you, the media, out there, if you're watching, right? Some of you guys, with your facts and figures. A little bit of John Candy influence there, but yeah, I think you catch my point. With your fear mongering and your stories and speculation. Now, I just saw a great story from the Rebel there today. A young lady out of British Columbia who used to do a show for Global TV about cars and stuff, whatever. And the amount of hatred she would get from other journalists, especially in the Global TV news world. Because she was asking the pertinent questions. Asking about the vaccines. Why are they so important? Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do that? And rightfully so. And I encourage every Canadian out there to ask why. Okay. And who cares who's out touring right now? Who cares who's on the so-called non-campaign trail? All right. Ask those questions. Right. And if you come across any journalists that want to sit there and shun you, well, then, threaten to sue them for slander if they don't get the story right, and put them on the spot too, because they should be asking those tough questions, right? All these journalists with all this background and this education, and they keep presenting the same narrative over and over again. It's like that wheel that clicks, click. Oh yes, vaccines. Oh, non-vaxxers, vaxxers, non-vaxxers. Oh, fascism. Oh, communism. Oh, far right, click, over and over again. And my friends in Australia are seeing this, my friends in the States, my friends in Eastern Europe. And I've had a few lovely emails this week. Some of my non-political friends in Ontario are now getting political because of this regurgitated narrative over and over again. Who's getting the needle? Who's not getting the needle, right? Who's buying this guy's bullshit? Who isn't buying this bullshit? And when I look at all three parties and look at all of the narratives that have come and gone this past year and a half, all three of them are towing the same line. Okay. Aaron O'Toole is towing the same line. He's encouraging the fear as well, too. He sits there and demands and stands up for free speech. But then if you saw what happened to David Menzies from Rebel Media there a few days back, where he was at a campaign area for, I think her name is Melissa Lanceman out of Thornhill, Ontario. She's running for the Federal Conservatives, I believe. Right? And how she treated Mr. Menzies when he was asking direct questions about merit and how she earned her position and all that good stuff. Now she just turned away. And then people were throwing water at him and taking his notes and shoving him and taking his hat and stuff. It was kind of like a schoolyard scuffle if you watch it. But I'll leave a link to that video for you to decide there. Now, it goes to show that not all three parties really want to tell the truth, right? Of course, Mr. Singh is pleading with the new Governor General, Miss Mary Simon. Oh, please don't call an election. But we also know what that means, that he wants to save his job and save his ass because he loves comfort and the perks that go with being a parliamentarian for a man who stands up for the working class. But he wouldn't do the working class if it bit him in the ass. So what's that tell you, ladies and gentlemen? So I'll leave more links in the description for you guys to follow there too. But I don't know. Like I personally think that we are getting backed into a corner yet again. Okay. And this next month and a half, I think, as I speculate, if Mr. Potato Puppet is going to call an election, and if Miss Simon is as intelligent as she presents herself to be, I would say she should incorporate an election. They get a new guard on the job. Time to step up and get a new guard for thee, ladies and gentlemen.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, coming back at you, ladies and gentlemen. Crusty Canuck Podcast, episode 145. Do we fight or do we kneel? And if you like and hear what you see, please click like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And there's a couple more days left on my promo for the Crusty Canuck gear shop at customizedgirl.com. Use the code ZZSS and get 10% off your purchases. That's all t-shirts, hats, flasks, got mugs. I got swimsuits for the ladies. I got shorts for the dudes and tank tops, unisex stuff just to be inclusive. So go grab yourself some Crusty Canuck swagger today at my shop. And you save 10%. You use the code ZZSS and get 10% off your purchases. This is valid until the end of the month. So you got another couple of days to grab some Crusty Canuck gear with 10% off. Anyway, carrying on again. The reason, well, I really don't want to see a fight, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to kneel either. And it just feels that based on the information that I've just displayed and the information I'll be putting in my description too, I think you might feel the same way too. Okay. Look at all the social upheaval we've had the past year and a half when it comes to speculation and asking the questions. Okay. You're either deemed as a racist or a misogynist, right? Especially the religious strife we've seen the past 3 months with the church burnings and that poor family that were killed in London, Ontario. And all of a sudden people pounced on that and called it a racial issue, right? And yet how many people have been caught burning churches in this country, vandalizing churches, all because of what happened with the residential schooling system, okay? And yet look at the divides that are still being promoted on that platform and the divides that are being promoted when it comes to vaccination and non-vaccination, okay? Didn't Dr. Tam said that once everyone was vaccinated, we'd be good to go? But then there's still people holding on to the mask mandate. There's still people wearing masks. I was out the other day before I went my shift, and I counted 12 people that still wore their masks in their vehicles, outside, in the store, okay? Now, each to their own. I'm a firm believer in that. I've said this before in the show. But we got to let go of the fear, okay? So if I go out for an hour and I see 12 people in that hour still with masks on, I'm like, holy shit, right? So these media moguls that are promoting this narrative, they're winning. You think of it, right? So is it time to fight or is it time to kneel? That's the question, ladies and gentlemen. And I've said numerous times in this show before too, I don't want to come to a fight. I don't want to come to a point where, let's say, we're at a protest or there's a gathering or there's a political rally of some sort and people start swinging sticks or throwing bricks or heaven forbid damaging property and setting fires. And then before you know it, riot cops are called in, then there's shots fired. Can you see the sequence of events that I'm talking about here? Okay. You're seeing turmoil in France right now because we know Macron is a globalist. Okay. We're seeing some upsets in the States. We're seeing some upsets in Britain. When's it creeping here too? Okay. People are so worried about the dynamic of the Olympics and how it's geared towards females. Well, that's great. But that's neither here or there as far as I'm concerned. What's concerning to me is a narrative that's being pushed to us as listeners, as viewers, as consumers, as working class, as middle class, as high class, as upper class, whatever gender, whatever persons, whatever color you identify as. What's happening to us as Canadians? What's happening to us as North Americans? What's happening to our friends in Australia and New Zealand too, right? How much of this whole agenda of you'll own nothing and have nothing and you'll be happy is starting to rear its ugly head in our daily lives now, right? When you all heard that term, the build back better, what exactly are we building back to be better? Right? The big reset is obviously it's the fancy term for the reset. Reset for who? Of course, to the pint size, you know what, Miss Krista Freeland, the whole stakeholder capitalism idea, right? and she's been saying that quite a few times lately. The stakeholder capitalism. Does that include you or me? Does that include our neighbors, our pals, our friends? Or does that just include her little tribe and her little conglomerate, along with the other fucking half-wits?
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And we're carrying on again with the fight or kneel. The thing is, I don't want to see a fight, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to see that kind of chaos come to our shores, come to our cities, come to our rural areas. I don't want to see any more of this divide, okay? So my listeners out there that swear by the vaccine, by all means, go for it. Have one. Go get a couple of jabs. Go get 2 more jabs. Go get the booster shot that they're talking about if you want to. I'm not going to tell you what to put in your body. I'm not going to tell you who to sleep with, who to love, whatever you want to do. Do it well. Do the best of your ability. Just don't hit people, take their stuff. Okay? Because it seems like every day, maybe my brain's working overtime. I don't know. But I am not seeing any light come to this manufactured darkness. I'm not seeing people respect other people's liberty, other people's right to choose. Okay? I'm seeing animosity that's generated by the mainstream media and elected officials and the not so elected officials, i.e. the bureaucrats and the health ministers. Okay? And I'm not hearing too much of our local MPs speak out against this too. Why is that? How come there's not enough local MPs in this area, especially my area, speaking out? I've seen a couple of blurbs on Facebook. I've seen a couple of little blurbs here and there in other people's podcasts. Okay. But how come they're not hosting town halls and getting things done? How come they're not motivating people to get out there and question things too, as they should? Okay. Yours truly has been laid off a couple times. Okay. Or basically let go, fired, because of me speaking my mind, because of my opinion on something. Okay. And that tells me that there's people in leadership positions that can't handle someone else's opinion. So instead of actually trying to find a resolution to said conflict, you just try to cut it off and then disregard people. So those leaders out there, those administrators, those bosses and managers that stand by those fucking mandates, don't be crying for labor. Don't be crying for help. Okay. When the time comes for you. Okay. Because you're part of that problem, that canceling, that pointing of the finger, screaming in the distance, right? You're part of that problem too. And if shit hits the fucking fan, you better duck. Okay? It's that simple. And that's based on my lived experience from my time in the service and the time where I've seen a few fights in my life. Okay? So keep that in your pipe and smoke it there, ladies and gentlemen. Not to you, my audience out there, but if anyone's listening who has a problem with people voicing their opinion because they're afraid some customers might be scared or some coworkers might be scared, then I think you got a lot of growing up to do, and it's going to hit you pretty fucking hard, right? That's my take. And we're carrying on more with the kneeling and the fighting. I don't want to kneel for anything. I don't kneel for anybody, right? And I don't want to fight either. I don't want to get to a point where I'm going to have to pick up a weapon, sharp pointy stick or a rock or a brick, or heaven forbid a firearm, and use it in vain. I don't want to get to that point. I don't want to get to that point where we might have to do that. Okay? Because when I look back at our history, especially in North American history, regardless of all the speculation of the SJW bullcrap and the so-called victimhood that we've been seeing every day since, I think, roughly since 2014, okay? I don't want push to come to shove over identity crisis. I want push to come to shove when it means keeping our democracy alive and well, where people still have a voice and where people can just carry on with their lives as best as they can, where the opportunity is there to make money, to flourish and thrive without so much red tape and so much garbage calling the shots. Okay. So if the government's going to use the big fancy words like reset and build back better and stakeholder capitalism, let's be the stakeholders. Let's you and I be the stakeholders here. Okay. Let's you and I build forward to be stronger. None of this build back better be shit. This BS, build back better. Okay, Joe. Camilla, where's my ice cream? You know what I mean? We can do this. Okay. But every time there's a protest, people are getting handed tickets now. Okay. We've all seen the footage of the encampments they had in Toronto that the police tore down. And of course, the lefties just losing their minds, and some journalists going, "Oh my God, why are you taking this down?" Probably because it was an unhygienic setting. People are cutting trees down in that park to build, to have campfires and what have you. And people just taking advantage of it. I'm all for trying to find a cure for the homeless too. But some of those homeless individuals want to have a home, and it's up to them to make it happen. Right? That's just my speculation. But as much as I disagree with people just squatting all over the place and taking shits in the streets and taking shits in the park, okay, we've got to conserve and look after things too. And I know the city of Toronto has lots of places to help the homeless where they can get 3 squares and get certain medicines and get some snacks and get some comforts out of their daily lives. So you can't tell me they had no other place to go. Right? So we got to start being genuine again, and we got to start turning the screws back. Okay. So I encourage my listeners out there to make thoughtful decisions for you and yours. What's going to benefit you? And if you get a knock on the door one day saying, we're from this office with the municipality of so-and-so, or we're from the province, or we're from the federal government, well, then politely tell them where to fucking drop their hats and take a leak. More or less tell them where to F and go. Because it's time we start pushing back. Okay? Using the word no instead of saying, I will comply. Start saying no. Okay? Start saying, no, we won't do this. And you can write me a ticket, whatever you want. But no. Time just to stand up for what's right, ladies and gentlemen. And the time is now. Okay? If you come across a journalist that works for a mainstream program, give him shit. Put him on the spot. Let him know how it feels. Let him know that their job is to ask those politicians the same questions, to put them on the spot. Okay? Make them feel uncomfortable, right? Let them know that you work for us. We don't work for you.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 145 of the Crusty Canuck Podcast. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. To fight or to kneel? Is it time to fight or time to kneel? I don't know. I'm not going to kneel, and I don't want to fight. I just want to carry on with my life. I want to make this podcast where it is for you, my listeners, my viewers out there. And I also want to go to work, pay my bills, love my wife, live my life, love my family, my friends, just like everybody else does. But it seems like every day now, every day, that churning, that click, 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 click. Oh, you're not a vaxxer. Oh, you're dividing. Oh, you're far right. Oh, you're this or you're that. No matter if you turn on television or if you still read newsprint or if you look online, you're constantly saturated with this stuff. Now, maybe I need a couple of weeks off from the digital world. That's coming sometime soon. Not now, but still, everywhere you go. Constant division, constant fear. Okay? Hold these people accountable. Right? And like I said before, when you hold these politicians accountable, now we have to hold mainstream media accountable too. So maybe we, podcasters and viewers and fans alike, ask the mainstream media the tough questions too, like I said earlier. Put them on the spot. Why are you lying about this? Why are you focusing your attention on this when this is going on? Why are you writing this narrative where it's okay to burn churches, right? Why is it okay to do that? Yet the moment someone speaks out against Islam or Judaism, the whole world's got to stop. Okay? Why? So let's change the narrative to be a little more factual and a little more redeemable, right? And let's start encouraging people to own their crap too. That's simple. It's about part of me. It's part of being an adult. Last time I checked. Right? What say you? Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Crusty Canuck on this 29th of July, a very, very wet 29th of July. And I'm going to go outside and see what's been going on with my plants. I know they needed some water the past couple of days. They've been watered, but I'm trying to get my bean crop and my tomato crop on the go. So hopefully I have some nice tomatoes and beans for the fall. Have a good Thanksgiving spread come October. But needless to say, see how that's going. And all I can do is hope for the best. But I don't want to use a cliche, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. But there are preparations I do have in the back of my head and things on the go. But in the meantime, we just got to do what's right for each other. Look after each other as best we can. Try to be kind and civil. Try to be caring. Okay. And just let people be people. Don't worry about the skin color or the gender or the quotas. Let people be people. Okay. If you come across an individual and that individual happens to be a he, but he lives his life as a she, and he asks you nicely to address him as a her, so be it. There's no skin off my back. But the moment you start running into people that demand this and demand that because they represent this or represent this group, or they're a constant fucking professional victim, don't give them the time of day. Just tell them to jog on and carry on. But still, try your best to be nice to people, all the same. Like I say, do what you can to help each other out in these trying times. We will find light in this manufactured darkness. Once again, if you like and hear what you see, please click like, subscribe out there. Shout out to Daisy Cousins. Good to see you up and running again, too. Frank Vaughn, where you at, buddy? To my buddy Adam in Toronto, still working on some good screenplay ideas. Jilly, well done today on Speaking Moistly. Mark, nice chat we had the other day. Thank you very much for reaching out to me. I'll be in touch. And everybody else who has given me some emails this week and give me a thumbs up for the last Fastball Sunday, thank you once again. Oh, and just a reminder too, there will be no fastball this Sunday. I say again, no fastball this Sunday. I've got some plans with my wife. We're going to go to a friend's place for a nice little barbecue, have some time with our friends. It's been a rough summer for some of us, but no fastball this Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. And next week, my work schedule has increased, so I'll be doing a few more shifts. So there might be just one episode of the podcast. I don't know, but I'll make time for you all nonetheless. Just stay informed via my community page on YouTube and my Facebook page for updates as well. And please, you can also check me out on Crusty Canuck on Brightian. Click like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can also find me on Rumble and Brightian and Wimkin too. I load when I can there, per se. No pun. But let's start looking at the reality of the situation, folks, and do what we can to help each other out. Let's start holding the powers that be accountable, asking them the tough questions. Because I don't want to fight, and I sure as hell ain't going to fucking kneel. And that's the episode for today. So thank you once again for all the great emails. And thank you once again, all my fans out there. You guys are wonderful. All my listeners and viewers alike, you guys rock. Pat yourself in the back. Do what you can to help each other out in these trying times. Do what you can to help your neighbors out. A few extra bucks here and there. Do some odd yard work. Volunteer your time to do what you can for people. And like I always say, ladies and gentlemen, humanity merit wins the day. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Oh, yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.
Well, smack my ass and call me Judy. Well, smack my ass and call me Judy.